In this video, I'm going to go over the old method people used to use to find Spotify playlist curators on Spotify, and then a somewhat new tool that you can use to drastically accelerate that process. So first of all, if we head over to Spotify here, by the way, this is my new band. First song just came out today. Little shameless self-promotion. If I go over here and let's say you wanted, for this band, for example, we're like alternative metal. So if I go over here and I type in alternative metal, I could go down to the playlist section here, click see all, and then I'm going to get a bunch of alternative metal playlists. So I could click on this one, and I could see here, there's an email address that I can contact, right? And I could keep going down this list, and this one here doesn't have an email. This one here doesn't have an email. I could look up this person's name online, see if I can track them down to social media or find some other way to contact them. Same if they have a brand name. They might be a company where they have a website. So you kind of just go through this one by one, the goal being to find ways to contact people. Now, Adam Ivy recently did a video where he shared a really cool trick where you can just append a little @gmail.com in here, which I thought was a brilliant idea. And it actually works where if I click on this here, @gmail.com. I'm pretty sure all these ones will have Gmail links in there. And you could test out, obviously if someone has a company email, it won't have it in there, but I'm guessing we could also just do .com. This one has a website, so this one doesn't. But if you do .com, you're gonna get a whole bunch of different things. This one actually doesn't even have it at all. So, try to think of what you can put in there, maybe at hotmail.com, at whatever email service you could do. But those are some methods you can use to just look up playlisters, contact them, say, hey, here's a link to my song, send them a pitch, and try to get on their playlist. Now, there's this they've been around for a bit now, but there's this way to streamline this process called Playlist Supply. You might have heard of them before. And it's essentially a tool that does that work for you. So what it's doing is you can type in a term like alternative metal, and I can search by email, social media, Instagram. And so what it's going to do is it's going to go do that search for a playlist with that keyword in it. But it's going to look for ones where there's either an email listed, an Instagram account listed, or whatever listed. So it's parsing through the description of it. This isn't like a database where people are submitting information. It's not like these people are saying, hey, I have a playlist, submit your music to me, or other people aren't adding a list of curators. It's just parsing through the Spotify records and finding information that people put in there themselves, which I think is a lot better. There's some companies that sell, here's the 2022 Spotify playlist curator list, and you pay $100 and you get this big giant Excel file of that, and it's I think that's stupid, honestly, because I've been on a few of those. People have emailed me from those, and I'm like, I don't want you to email me. What the hell, Whereas this, it's only looking for people who put the contact information themselves in the description. And so the way it works, if I scroll down here, is you get a whole bunch of different information on the playlist. And what's good about this is a lot of this is kind of quality metrics. Of course, you get followers, you get the name, but you can also look at the popularity index of the average popularity index of the playlist. So if it's a 13 or a 2, this is going to be all small bands, meaning that this curator might just be adding a whole bunch of small bands that people don't listen to as much. Whereas if it's a 50, 40, 31, they're mixing in, or they're doing mostly large artists. If you see a 51, 55, you might be I'm probably, they're only adding bigger artists. So you can use this data to kind of see generally if they add a lot of smaller, a lot of bigger, or an even mix of both. You can also see when they last updated or modified the playlist. I think there's a little glitch in this where this is, and let me actually make my screen bigger here. There's a little glitch here where some of the things get out of order, but you can generally scan through this and you can see when they last updated the playlist. And you can also sort by email. So if you only want to have ones that have an email address listed, sort by email. And now you have all these email addresses. And then you can look at all this other data. You can look at the name, and you can click this plus button to see the description. Feel free to send me suggestions at this email if you want music added to this playlist. Now, there's another cool feature of this where you can do a search on top of your search. So here we searched for alternative metal. And so I could go in here and I can just type in metal, and it's going to search for this keyword as well. So if I do alternative, it's going to filter things differently. So now I'm down to 7 entries. I might have to zoom out here so you can see that a little better. I'm down to 7 entries here, but if I type in metal, and now down here I'm down to 35 entries. So you can kind of like do a secondary filter on this stuff. And maybe you're not big on having the email addresses. Maybe you prefer to work in Instagram or something. You can choose Instagram, and then maybe you want to do like hard rock or something. Click enter, and it's going to go start grinding to find information, and then you'd be able to search by social media here. And or if they have links, that's another way you can parse it. It seems like email seems to be the most reliable method, at least for the types of playlists I've been searching for. But there are plenty of ones that have social media accounts listed, but it seems like more common in the electronic stuff. So one thing I really like about this tool is it doesn't like lock you into being stuck with the platform itself. You can generate reports for whatever you want. So, right now we're searching for hip hop with specifically looking for people who have Instagram links in their thing. With that, once it's done, we could export it as a CSV file or an Excel file or a PDF file. And the cool thing is when you import it as an Excel file, you can pull it into something like Excel or Numbers, and then you could sort the data. So, here I have it sorted by days. Numbers kind of messed it up. It's not like sorting it correctly, but that's not Playlist Supply's fault. That's Numbers, the Apple spreadsheet tool. But one thing I did is like in their playlist name, it was grabbing playlist by Spotify, like release radar, editorial playlist, and that's not really what I want. So like I added a filter that I'm saying like text is not Spotify, so that removed all that stuff. So like even though you can do a bunch of ways to filter things out on Playlist Supply, you can export it to Excel, filter it out, and then like upload this to Google Drive. And then maybe for each playlist that you pitch to, you add a column with some notes like, hey, I contacted this person in the state. This is what they said. Did this person ask for a bribe? Did this person do it for free? And so you get to keep that information forever, right? It's not like you lose that after you stop using Playlist Supply. So I really like that they let you do that. A lot of services with tools like this don't let you export data from the database. And since it's not like a submitted thing, this is always generated directly from Spotify. There's actually an incentive to come back at a later date and see if the new playlists have been created, which I think is cool. So we just had this hip hop search going for Instagram. So now we're going to scroll down. We got 236 interests here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to search for, I don't know, what's another, maybe like emo. So in this case, didn't get much, we only got one. So we got this emo one, maybe like sad. There we go, sad rap, sad hip hop. So like, in this case, if you were looking for sad rap, you probably want to search for hip hop. And also if you do hip-hop, it might come up with different things, or hip hop, no space. But you can do a secondary filter on this and then narrow it by that. And then you can see things here. Now, in this case, we didn't get any emails. We were sorting for Instagram, and some of these people do have links in here. So it doesn't list like the social column, but there's this Instagram link. This one is an Instagram link. This one is an Instagram link. So they don't all have it. But one thing you could do is you can click on this playlist to open it up in a new tab. And I recommend doing this anytime you pitch to anyone if you have the time. Go check them out just to make sure it's actually a right playlist. Like sad rap, it's got the person's Instagram handle right here, and you could go shoot them a DM, and that's that. Now, I want to comment on something. Like, this is common whether you're doing it the old-fashioned way or Playlist Supply, is some people are going to ask you to pay them. And this happened to me a few weeks ago. I was like, hey, I have this new song. I think it'll be a really good fit for your playlist. It sounds just like these two artists. And so I did a pretty fairly good pitch. I explained the song, the story behind the song, but I kept things short, under like 20-second read time. And they replied back, and they were like, oh, yeah, I love your song. But to add this to the playlist, we require like a small donation of like $30 or something. And I was like, thanks, but no thanks, basically. And they didn't reply. And so the way I actually replied, and this would probably be beneficial to you, and Ryan over at Playlist Supply actually said this exact same thing to me. He was saying, if someone asks you for money, instead of telling them off or ignoring them, you might say like, well, I'm not willing to do that, or I can't do that at this time. But what I'd be willing to is I'd be happy to follow the playlist, share it in my social media accounts. I have this many followers, and so it might help you grow your playlist. And then if someone's only in it for the money, they'll probably just stop replying, or they'll just say, no thanks, bye. And that way you at least didn't burn the bridge. You just offered something in value in return. And some people might take you up on that. Now, obviously, a lot of them won't, because a lot of playlist curators are just looking to make a quick buck. Playlist supply doesn't filter things out like that. As I mentioned, it's not like a managed database where people submit stuff and they're curating which curators go on their list. It's just searching for everything. So it's really on you how you interpret the data, how you write the emails, and how you engage with those people, depending on how they engage with you. So there's other ways you can sort on playlist supply. Like we tried email and Instagram, but you can also do Twitter, just general social, you don't care what. Or you can also look for similar artists. So if you know you sound like a certain artist, instead of filtering by that, you could type in, I don't know, let's say like Linkin Park, just because I use them in every example in the world. And it's going to go grind and find playlists that have, it's basically a similar artist playlist. It's got either Linkin Park or similar artists to Linkin Park in there, which is really cool because that's a different way to filter. You might not know necessarily what genre or playlist title you're looking for. You might know what artist that you're kind of targeting. Now, in terms of this is an easy way to submit to these playlists compared to the old method. Obviously, there's other playlisting methods out there in the wild. So like I'd recommend not using companies where you just like send them money and then they go out and just put your songs in a bunch of playlists at some guaranteed number of followers. Most of the time. Like there's plenty of people doing it legitimately out there, and I know one of them. But there's also a lot of people that are not doing it right, and it's hard to tell when they are not doing things right. So I'd only recommend doing it is if like you have some reason to trust the specific company that's doing it. Like they're a company with a face. They're a company with a public presence, not just this random no-name company. And so Playlist Supply is definitely a way better tool to use than that, and it's also way cheaper than that. Like if you were to pay these playlisting companies, you might pay hundreds of dollars. I'm not going to name any of the ones that I've used because I don't want to start any feuds. Now, you could make an argument about like, would you want to use something like this versus Submit Hub or Playlist Push? And that kind of just depends on how you want to do this. There's an advantage with something like doing it yourself with Playlist Supply or the old-fashioned way, and that is that you retain your own email contacts. You can build these relationships up. With Submit Hub, you're kind of just pitching, and there's a chat system, but no one really communicates artist to curator. So I feel like the relationships you build on Submit Hub, even though Submit Hub's it's a fine platform, you're not really building a relationship. It's kind of like you pay some money, you do some pitches, people add it or they don't. This is kind of like the same thing. They'll add it or they don't, but if someone loves it, you can start chatting with them, and do things that way. Playlist Push kind of falls in the same category as Submit Hub, except it's way more expensive than Submit Hub, and it doesn't let you do as much research as Submit Hub. So, Playlist Supply has its own place alongside Submit Hub or even Playlist Push. So that's kind of the difference between them. Now, if you want to learn how you can use Submit Hub, I have a video on that where I've tried different things. You can check that out right here, because a lot of people use Submit Hub the wrong way and they get a lot of rejections. So check out that video if you want to kind of improve your rates and do a little bit better on the platform. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.